Sometimes, what scares a person the most in life is not what stands in front of them, but what keeps pulling them back again and again. And for Carlos Suarez and his friends, that thing was the sky. The story begins with Carlos, who has been part of the world of mountains, climbing, and adventure since childhood. For Carlos, a normal life was never enough. He always needed something that would challenge his limits. But Carlos was not alone. He meets Armando Del Rey, Dario Barrio, Manolo Chana, and Alvaro Balto. The 5 men come from different backgrounds, but they share one thing: the powerful desire to take risks and make adventure part of their lives. At first, they seem like nothing more than a group of friends. They spend time together, travel, go on adventures, and share their experiences with one another. Slowly, their friendship becomes so strong that one person's challenge becomes everyone's challenge. Then Carlos, Dario, and Armando become attracted to an activity that gives them almost the experience of flying, base jumping with wingsuits. This is where the film introduces its central idea. For these men, it is not just a sport. When they are in the air, they feel as if all the rules of the world have been left behind for a while. Below them is the ground, ahead of them are the mountains, and between them is only themselves and their decision. The film represents this feeling through the name La Fiera. It is an inner force that keeps pulling a person toward danger again and again. Carlos becomes more deeply involved in this passion. Armando is there with him as well. Dario is a successful chef in his professional life, but another side of his personality is connected to adventure and excitement. Manolo and Alvaro also become important parts of the same circle. Now they are no longer just 5 friends. They have become like a family. They understand each other, trust one another, and with every new experience, their bond grows stronger. But the film slowly makes the audience realize an uncomfortable reality. The more freedom these men find in the sky, the greater the risk that follows them. Then a moment comes when the first major tragedy enters their adventure-filled lives. Manolo Chana dies. For his friends, this moment changes everything. The group that once looked at every challenge with excitement now faces a reality that is difficult to ignore. One of their friends is gone. But despite the grief, life does not stop. Carlos, Armando, Dario, and Alvaro try to move forward with their lives. Their friendship is no longer as carefree as before, but their connection remains strong. Then, several years later, another tragedy happens. Alvaro Balto also dies in an accident. Now the situation becomes even more painful for the remaining members of the group. 2 close friends are now gone. And the hardest part is that both deaths are connected to the very passion that brought the 5 friends together. At this point, the film asks an important question. If something gives you so much happiness, but you are losing your friends because of that same thing, can you really give it up? For Carlos and Armando, the answer is not simple. Because for them, this was never just about adrenaline. It had become part of their identity. Meanwhile, Dario Barrio continues balancing his professional life with his personal passion. From the outside, he appears successful and confident, but the film also explores the attraction inside him that keeps pulling him back toward adventure. Then a special event is organized to honor Alvaro's memory. For the friends, this is more than just a tribute. It is also a moment when they are forced to face their past. Dario becomes part of the event. But this is where the story takes another heartbreaking turn. Dario also loses his life in an accident. Now Carlos and Armando face the reality they perhaps wanted to avoid the most. Of the group of 5 friends, only the 2 of them remain. First Manolo, then Alvaro, and now Dario. With every loss, the meaning of the sky changes for them. What was once a symbol of freedom is now filled with the memories of their friends. For Armando, the biggest struggle is to remember his friends while also continuing with his own life. The situation is not easy for Carlos either. He has devoted a huge part of his life to this passion. He has watched his friends die, but the Fiera inside him is still alive. The film does not look at extreme sports simply as spectacle. Instead, it tries to understand the psychology of the people who are drawn to them. What is it that keeps pushing a person closer and closer to the limits of what they can do? Is it freedom? Is it the desire to defeat fear? Or is it the feeling that when a person becomes completely separated from the world, that is when life feels the most real to them? For Carlos, Dario, Armando, Alvaro, and Manolo, perhaps it was a mixture of all these things. And that is what made their friendship so powerful. They did not just accompany each other on adventures. They witnessed each other's dreams. They understood each other's fears. And then they also lost each other. The most emotional part of the story comes when Carlos and Armando face the world again while carrying the memories of their friends who have passed away. But there is another shocking connection between real life and the film. This film was actually being made as a tribute to these real-life pioneers. Carlos Suarez himself died in 2025 after suffering an accident during an extreme sequence in the production. In this way, he too became a victim of a tragedy connected to the same sport after the deaths of his 3 friends. Because of this, the story of the film feels even more emotional on screen.